Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm sitting here with Brandon, who is one of the biggest Turo hosts in the U.S., second largest, right?
Largest in Arizona.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
So you have a 150 car fleet, and we're going to get into that a little later, but I want to talk about how you got started in
Sure.
Turo.
Yeah. So I actually started out as a customer. I had a security business before this with 8 offices littered throughout California. And so I lived in Arizona, but had all these offices in California. And so I'd travel a lot. I'd fly into LAX. I don't know if you've ever been to LAX before, but the experience of getting a rental car is absolutely bananas. You stand outside with your luggage. You wait for like an hour for the bus to come. Then the bus shuttles you over. Of course, everybody's going to the same place, so the line immediately starts at the rental car place. And then you go get your car. I mean, sometimes it was a 2-hour process from start to finish. So I'd have to schedule meetings at least 2 hours after I arrived. And so it was a mess. And a buddy said, hey, why don't you just get a car from Turo?
Was it called Turo at the time?
It was. So apparently Turo's been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I had just never heard of it up until this was probably early 2020. Really not even that long ago.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I went on the app and I put all my information in, and I ended up getting an M4 convertible for the same price I would have paid for the Dodge Challenger V6 that I normally get from the rental car company. But here's what was really neat about it. I grabbed my bags off of the little terminal, and I walk outside, and the second I walk outside, the car is literally right there on the curb, and the guy is holding the keys going, here you go. And I remember I had that moment where I looked at him, and I go, dude, stop. Really? Is it really that simple? And so he handed me the keys, and then I'm like, okay, do I need to take you somewhere, or like, where are you going? And he goes, oh, no, I got a ride. Just let me know when you're going to drop it off. And so I take off, and I had about a 45-minute drive to Newport Beach. And in my head, I'm like, this is genius. This is absolutely genius. These guys are going to destroy the rental car companies. And so I went home. I talked to my wife about it, and I'm like, you know, I've loved cars. I've always been passionate about cars. It's been like ever since I had recollection of having thinking in my head, I love cars. And so I got home, immediately went to Craigslist and bought 5 cars. Five cars.
Oh,
they were like
God.
$20,000 cars.
What was wife's reaction when you told her the idea?
She goes, oh, God, here we go. Because I'm always looking for excuses to buy cars even before this.
Yeah.
And so she goes, I think you're just using this as an excuse to buy cars. And I said, maybe you're right, but I'm going to try this out. So I bought 5 cars. So I was a customer first, and I just believed in the experience. And here's what's remarkable about Turo versus your traditional rental car company. With Turo, I get to rate you as a guest, and you as a guest get to rate your experience with our company. Mm-hmm. And because of that, it increases the caliber of experience that you have, right? Because I want a good rating. You want a good rating. See, customer service nowadays is really declining because there's no accountability.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on an airplane, the flight attendant, there's no accountability. This is why most of the time you just get a bad experience. What do you want? Like, you know, it's just not a good experience.
Yeah.
But with this, not only am I incentivized to create a good experience for you, but you're incentivized to create a good experience where you don't damage the car, right? So I truly believe that Turo is going to do to the rental car companies what Uber did to taxis.
Really?
And that's probably the main factor of why that's going to happen. So I jumped in it right away. I wouldn't say I was one of the beginners, but I will say that we've definitely taken it to the next level.
Yeah.
Most people who do Turo are just doing it as I've got a car or two that I don't use on the weekend, or I want to subsidize the payment a little bit, so I'm going to throw it on Turo. That's the majority of Turo.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, there's very few that have said, hey, I'm going to turn this into a real business where we're like a traditional rental car company.
Yeah, yeah. And so you bought the 5 cars, and I'm assuming you just rented from your house.
So I had an office for our other business. It was just in the parking lot.
Oh, okay.
And so I had a guy in my other business that just didn't really work out, so it worked out neat too that I could give him a job to kind of take care of the cars and deal with customers. So I did on the side for probably a year and a half.
Okay. With those 5 cars, were you buying cars?
I would buy like one here or there, but it was really a low number of cars because I just had one guy managing it. Okay. And you're really limited in capacity of how many cars you can have with just one person.
Yeah. So when you had the 5 cars and you had the guy managing it, or I guess you're scaling a little bit, where did you buy the cars?
Okay.
And then what was your day-to-day? What did you do? I know you had a full-time job, but did you have any like input, or were you doing anything with the operation?
Yeah, so before I had this gentleman run it, I did it myself. I've got 20 plus years in the entrepreneur space. So I know that as being an entrepreneur, you have to know what has to be done before you can properly teach somebody and manage them. So I did it myself until my wife, without exactly saying it, threatened to divorce me, because you're all hours of the night, you know, like something happens or this or that, like it's a full-time gig for someone.
Yeah.
Not full-time in the sense of 9 to 5, full-time in the sense of you got to be available 24/7.
Well, and mentally too.
Yeah. So to get back to your first question, I bought most of the cars on Craigslist.
Wow.
And so here in Arizona, we have this nice thing where if you buy a car private party, you don't pay any sales tax. So I was all about that. Plus, one of my strengths is I'm a walking Kelly Blue Book. So if I look at a car, I don't need to look anything up. I know what it's worth, because I spend on average probably an hour and a half realistically a day just looking at cars. Even now, just looking at cars on the internet. My wife will be watching TV and I'm scrolling, right? So you look through enough cars over enough period of time and you get an idea of what they're worth. And more importantly, and this is important in the Turo space, is you start to create a mindset of predicting what a car will be worth later.
So
this is the biggest downfall of most Turo hosts.
I agree.
Is they mistake cash flow for profit. When in reality, if I buy a car for $100,000, I could make $1,000 a month, but if it's worth $50,000 in a year, I lost money in totality.
Yeah.
And like a CA Corvette, for example, right?
Yeah.
This is the notorious one that people are doing, and they're, I'm making, $1,000 more than my payment. And I'm like, yeah, but that car is depreciating $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month.
They're looking at today, not tomorrow.
Cash flow for profit.
So, right? And I don't know, you have a lot of time and research done in that space. So is there any way you'd suggest people can look at that and maybe factor that into their purchasing? Like how would somebody know to do that if they're buying the first car?
I mean, for most car models, there was a prior generation. And the prior generation followed a certain depreciational curve. Yeah. And for the most part, especially in mass-produced cars, the next model is going to follow that same curve. Right? When you get into exotics, then there's a little bit more niche things that you got to look at. But for most cars that people are putting on Turo, there was a depreciational curve for a prior generation, and you just need to follow that.
That makes sense.
And cars depreciate on average 9 to 15% a year.
Okay.
So you can kind of just take that, of course, different amounts and different times, right? You take a car off the lot, and for some of them, 20% the day you take it off.
That's crazy.
Right? But after that, it will start to balance out a little bit, slow down. And some cars even get to a point to where after they've slowed down, they start to creep back up again. Mostly the exotics or things that they didn't make a lot of. But knowing the depreciational curve of a car is important when you buy a car on Turo, because it's going to be a line item expense. Even though you don't see it and you don't feel it right away, it's a line item expense.
Yeah, absolutely. So when buying your cars, have they all been private party? All the cars you bought so far?
No. I've got a great relationship with a couple of dealers, a exotic car dealer and Van Chevy up in Scottsdale, that I've bought a lot of cars from. There's some advantages to buying retail. I've even bought some new cars. So a lot of people ask me what kind of car to get.
I know, that's the biggest question.
And I can't tell you, buy that car.
Yeah.
You have to say, okay, what kind of space do I want to be in? I'm not a big believer in having 50 totally different cars. Right? When you're trying to maintain them, like there's a reason why we have 50 Fiats, right? Because I've got a couple of parts cars that I can just grab some stuff off of. If a booking cancels or something goes wrong with the car, I have the same exact car that I can put them in. So there's a lot of advantage to doing that. But when you're looking at the car, I actually have, and I'll share it with you and your audience later because we're building some courses for people who want to be Turo hosts. But I actually have a spreadsheet that you can put all the information in the car in. And although it's not an exact science, it will give you a good idea of, is this a good car for me at my point in my Turo career, right? Because there's certain cars that I should have bought when I first started, and then there's certain cars that I should have bought when I got more established, and it changes as you grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of stepping back to when you got started, 5 cars, and you're slowly buying, when did you get this space? How many cars?
So we got this space when we were literally busting at the seams. My landlord at our prior place was like, hey, where are all these cars coming from? They're here all night. Like, what's going on?
And how many did you have at that point?
We had like 25 at that point, but it's noticeable in a parking lot of a little office building, right? And so once that started happening, I figure we got to get something that's, one has some covered space. And so you'll find yourself getting forced into that when it gets there.
Yeah.
Right? A lot. I do see a lot of Turo hosts too making the mistake of doing things before they need to do it and wasting time, energy, and resources doing that. Like kind of like we see on social media, right? Where I'm starting a business and the first thing I'm thinking about is branding. Who cares about your logo right now, dude? Okay. You don't even have any cars.
Yeah.
So there's a time and place for that, but right now it's not the time and place.
Yeah. I completely agree. A lot of people spend time on things that don't make money as opposed to what makes money first and then focusing on that kind of stuff.
Right.
And like you said, I mean, the logo's not going to change how much you make in a year.
Yeah.
Anyway. So with this space right now, how many cars can you fit here?
We can fit 50 inside of the warehouse and another 75 to 100 outside.
Okay.
But at any given time, there's usually on average 50 to 70% of our cars gone.
Yeah.
So really you can double or times it by 60% of what it is of how many cars you can actually have because you can count on a lot of them being gone.
Yeah. So with your fleet in mind, what would you say is, I know you really like Fiats. That's probably your favorite as far as ROI, but what would you say is your favorite like car to get started on besides from a Fiat 500?
Yeah, so if somebody's listening to this who's like, I'm just going to start and get a couple of cars, my recommendation would be find the most economical car and the most reliable car.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have the luxury now of having a full-time mechanic.
Yeah.
So if things go wrong, I can fix it at a decent cost. But when you're first starting, you may not have that. So I would say focus on a newer car, maybe even one preferably that's still under warranty. So if something did happen, it's not going to totally traumatize you.
Yeah.
Right? Start off on the plan where because Turo has different plans, right? And there's out-of-pocket costs if there's an accident. And some people like to get a little greedy up front and say, I want the 90% plan so I get 90%. But they don't have money saved up if there's an accident and then they get put out.
Yeah.
So, look, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, it changes as you go up and you scale.
Yeah.
And this is why I really got obsessed with recently creating these classes because there's certain advice you need to hear when you first start. And there's certain advice you need to hear when you've got 25 cars and then 50. And then when you're trying to actually scale into a full-blown duplicatable business, right? And if I give somebody who's just starting the same advice of cars that I'm buying right now, that could set them up for failure.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say if you're starting out right now and you don't have all the resources that we've built with the momentum and traction we've built, get a car that you don't have to worry about it breaking down and coming out of pocket and be in that price range where it can be utilized frequently.
Yeah, I like that. That's definitely good advice.
Yeah.
Let's dive into a little bit of the numbers. I've seen some numbers on what you've made, but give me like a rough estimate on what you typically see every month with your 150 cars.
Yeah, with 150 cars, and keep in mind, it's not so much the cars as it is how much the car demands, right? Yeah. So if I had 150 Fiats versus 150 Huracans, this is going to be a totally different number, right?
Yeah.
Now, we've got kind of a bit of a diverse, but our best month was 225,000.
Wow.
Right? And that's with our current inventory. So, again, just like in business, people get so fixated on one number and they start doing math and they're like, oh, well, that's not a lot. And you go, well, we've got cars that are like $20 a day, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to get thousands of dollars a month off of that car. It's not
there's
about
large
that.
Spread.
Yeah. Most I've made on one car in a month is 25,000. Our green Huracan. Yeah.
Wow.
That's the most I made in 1 month. Most combined monthly for to date is 225,000.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. So what are your goals for this year to hit?
So for this year, we're hoping our busy season's coming up in a couple of months, and I'm hoping to double the size of our fleet.
Wow.
So there's some things that we're working on with that, and that simultaneously create courses. And I really want to create a Turo host community where people feel like because look, it's not Turo's job to do this, but Turo just provides the platform. They don't coach people on how to do it right, how to avoid some of the pitfalls, right? And I think with us being in a unique position of going through all those pitfalls and making all those mistakes, and honestly, just because we have 150 cars doesn't mean we're not making mistakes right now.
Yeah.
We're constantly learning, but I'm hoping to create this community where a bunch of us can get together and we can help people avoid some of those pitfalls. scale quicker, right? And do it the right way, because quite frankly, there's some Turo hosts that are ruining the experience of Turoing a car. And that doesn't just hurt them or their customer. It hurts all of us as hosts.
Yeah, it kind of ruins the brand almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes people not want to come back. So with the pitfalls, I'm sure there's tons that you've learned along the way. But what would you say, starting out, are probably some of the bigger ones that you saw?
This is kind of a weird one, but it's just the way my mind operates. I think the biggest one is people get a couple of cars or like 5 or 6 cars, and then they get stuck in the daily mundanes, right, of just maintaining the fleet that they have. And I think that ceiling that you put on yourself, because, I'm stressed out with the 5 cars that I have right now. And so instead of changing their processes or hiring a new person or finding a closer location to the airport, they go, this is my cap. So I think that's the biggest thing, and why a lot of people haven't got to the scale that, because I'm constantly thinking about, hey, if we tweak this, that saves 5 minutes on that trip, but collectively over 600 trips a month, that's a whole person's salary.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm obsessed with fine tuning in sales, there's only 2 ways you can get more sales. Okay. You either get more leads, right? Or you get more efficient with the leads that you have. Those are the only 2 ways that you grow in business. I'm always focused on both fronts simultaneously. I want to make sure that the leads that we get, we take care of them better. If you look at our reviews on Google, we have like close to 1,500 reviews with a 4.9 star. Right? Turo, we have a 5-star with over 10,000 trips.
That is crazy.
Right? So we do a lot of things that most people don't, because, for lack of a better term, we give a shit about our customer and our business.
Yeah. Right?
And so putting a ceiling on yourself, I would say, is the biggest thing that most people struggle with in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so their mind, once they get overloaded, goes to, okay, I'm enough. I just start maintaining versus starting to make those tweaks that you need to in the business to keep the growth spurt going.
Yeah. So do you also think that along with like fixing the processes or systems, and do you think hiring is also another part of that solution?
Yeah. Yeah. We could sit here for like 4 hours and talk about hiring. So I'll just give you a couple of quick little overviews. First off, and I just had this conversation with my mom has a flower farm in Idaho. I'll use her as an example, right? Yeah. Every time I call her, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. We're doing this, we're doing that. Her business is thriving. And I'm like, Mom, it's time. You need to hire somebody. Like, the universe is speaking to you. It's time to find somebody. But especially people who are starting off in Turo, they're like, I can't justify that expense, blah, blah. You have to make that expense make sense, right? You have to justify it.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of times in scaling this business where I go from making a ton of money, cash flowing really good, to I just lost it all, but I unlocked the next level of the business to expand the growth potential.
Yeah.
So you got to hire somebody, right? It's hard to trust somebody, but since you've been doing it yourself for a certain period of time, you should be able to effectively coach somebody else and know exactly what should be done on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You also need to make sure that person creates a great customer experience.
Yeah.
Because they may be delivering the cars for you instead, and you need to make sure that that's a happy experience.
Yeah, I feel like they need to fit the brand in a whole, not just be able to do what they can do. They need to be able to fulfill it in the right way for the business.
Right.
So this is kind of a follow-up question to that. When do you think you would know, like for somebody watching, that maybe they need to hire somebody maybe with 5 to 10 cars, and kind of just like you said, they're just doing that? Is there a certain point though that they should hire somebody? Or
when the quality of the experience for your customer goes down because you're doing too many things at once is your sign. I don't think it's so much when people will know, like you'll know.
Yeah.
Right? I knocked doors for 15 years.
Wow.
And there was a point at which I knew I was more effective in the office growing my business than I was out on the door talking to one customer at a time. I just neglected it for years. It probably was 10 years in, but I was just so tunnel visioned and stay disciplined, stay focused, do the daily thing you need to do, that I lost sight of the big thing. There's people who grow businesses, and then there's people who grow people. The people who do really well in life, the big entrepreneurs like Russell Branson and Trump and all, they build people. And so this is a huge thing that most hosts are neglecting.
Yeah.
They're so tunnel visioned on what they're doing on the day that they stop to say, I got to start to grow the people, or this business is not going to grow.
Yeah.
And it's going to put you in a position of discomfort, which is going to force you to say, okay, I have to justify this now by having more cars, right?
Yeah.
Then you push yourself to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's kind of going back into the systems and maximizing profit, because there's always a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah.
So what are your plans? I know you said you're looking at maybe something else to grow, but what else do you plan on doing to expand to get to your next level?
So we're really perfecting a one office experience, right? Getting it to where we can facilitate probably around 500 to 1,000 cars, have a profitable P&L, and be able to scale that. Mm-hmm. Now, scale it internally as if it's a big corporation, or create a franchise setup where we have, in a sense, a Hertz setup of our own, but on the Turo platform that's just much more efficient and customer friendly.
Yeah. I like that. So P&L, I heard this. You have a P&L for every car, right?
Yep.
For every single car.
Every car out there is its own business.
Yeah.
It either makes money or it loses money.
That's crazy. That's something I honestly don't think I know anybody that does that.
Yeah. Well, when a car is our inventory to make money, mm-hmm. right? Some cars that I've gotten have made a ton of money. Mm-hmm. Other cars have cost me a ton of money. So if you're going to have multiple cars in your fleet and you want to find the right, I didn't have somebody to tell me the right cars. I figured it out on my own.
Yeah.
And by having a P&L per car and going, okay, this car made X this month. This car lost X per month. So if this car made me net $1,000 a month and it's depreciating $500 a month, I have a net profit, mm-hmm. right? And so this is a car I can keep in my fleet. Do I foresee it having big maintenance problems or things like that could end up being a bomb that sets off? These are all decisions that you have to make when you get a car. Mm-hmm. It's a super hard question. And so this is why we're creating courses, so that I can actually spend 5 hours just answering that particular question. Is this a good car to get?
5 hours on
5
that
hours
one
because
question?
There's so many different pieces to the puzzle. You have to look at all of them in totality to make sure, is this the right car for me?
Yeah.
Because there's timing, there's depreciation, there's maintenance, there's how you're buying the car, how long you plan on keeping it in the fleet. Literally 5 hours minimum to go over all those things for you to listen to it and go, okay, this is where I fit into that, and I'm going to feel comfortable getting a car of this brand, this age to start my career.
Yeah.
And feel confident in it, right? It sucks to buy a car, and I've been the guy who, and I still to this day am the guy that buys cars and goes like this. That's never a good thing to do in business, to cross your fingers, right? Yeah. So it's better to get experience from other people and make a more educated decision.
What would you say is the biggest mistake in value that you've had so far?
In valuing a car?
Well, if you bought a car and then you made a mistake and it cost you this much money, what would you say is the biggest one you've had?
I wouldn't say there was a huge one. I'll give you an example of some small ones. We bought a car that didn't have automatic lights. So you think, okay, no big deal, right?
Headlights?
Yeah. I mean, even if I bought it and knowing that it didn't have automatic headlights, I would be like, okay, so what?
Yeah.
But here's the problem. These people who are driving these cars, it's not their normal cars, so they're not in a normal routine.
And a lot of people,
they leave the lights on overnight and the battery's dead the next morning. Oh. Who do they expect to come jump it the next day? Us. You got to buy batteries every time. You got to send somebody out there to do it. So there's just little things, right? I didn't learn this until I actually got it, right?
Yeah.
Buying cars with chrome rims. Well, the biggest damage people do to cars is they scrape wheels. A chrome rim scraping, you can't really touch up. A black one, you can. Mm. So I don't have to refinish the rim every time.
Wow.
So I try to buy cars with black wheels.
Yeah.
There's small little things that you just don't really figure out until you dive into it and go, oh, crap, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Electric cars, right? How much distance is in it? Okay, well, nobody's going to want the baggage room in a car. Okay, well, nobody's going to rent this because they can't put their bags in it. Mm. One popular thing on Turo is those T-Rexes or those...
T-Rex, the Rams?
Yeah, there's the three-wheeled carts that have an open top. Yeah, slingshots, things like that. Well, in Arizona, you have to have a motorcycle license to drive those.
What?
Yes.
Sure?
Yes, I'm positive.
That was our first car.
I have a motorcycle license.
Oh, you do?
And I learned it in the class that I was in. No Arizona
way.
recognizes those as a motorcycle. Now, I'm sure you could probably do some rentals and, get away with it. But
Yeah.
if they got pulled over, they would literally get it towed because they don't have a motorcycle endorsement if they didn't.
Yeah, well, thank God we didn't run into that. That was our first car we ever bought, was a
Yeah.
Slingshot.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing you got to think about too. People can't put luggage in there, so
Nothing.
it can't be their only thing. I don't think there's tops on them, so when it's hot, you can count that car out of your fleet, right? So there's a lot of things that unfortunately you're not going to think about until you actually get the car, unless you find a mentor or you start to do research and dive into these things.
Yeah. So, question about your course. So, all the things that you've learned, I mean, it sounds like you learned stuff that I haven't even heard of, which I'm sure you have just a book. You could fill a book with that stuff. Is that all in your course?
Yeah, so I'm going to stop recording for the course when I don't have anything left to talk about, and I like to talk. So it's going to be really long and lengthy, but I want to feel confident that if somebody wants to get into doing Turo and they watch this and they retain the information, they're going to be successful.
Wow.
Like that's my goal for this, is to have them avoid the mistakes that I've made. So instead of it taking me 3 years to build a 150 car fleet, they can do it in a matter of a year or so.
Yeah.
Right. That's the goal of coaching, is you want people to be able to learn from your mistakes and go faster than you did.
Yeah, and have the information answered any questions that they may have potentially in the future, unless it's very, very specific.
Well, and then creating a community too, right?
Yeah.
Because things are changing with our space and problems are going to come up. And instead of me trying to figure out that problem by myself and this person figuring out the problem by themselves with their limited knowledge and my limited knowledge, we can have a community of people where we can hop on a call, on a Zoom call, and go, okay, this policy you just launched. What's the best way to combat it? And we can have a good debate, healthy debate about it, and then we can all collectively go, okay, this is the best way to go about this. So there's nothing like that I know of right now, and that's really our biggest goal right now, is to create a space like that.
Wow, I really like that idea. I have a couple more questions about the fleet.
Okay.
One, what's your most expensive car you have?
We've got a Rolls-Royce Dawn that's a $350,000 car. We got a Ferrari 488 convertible. It's a $350,000 car. And then we've got a bunch of cars in the 200 range, the Huracans. But that would be probably our most expensive one, is either the Dawn or the 488 Spider.
Okay. And then between like the 150 cars, I'm sure you know the answer, but how much have you spent in total on your vehicles?
We've got a $7.5 million fleet right now. That's how much inventory we have. $7.5 million.
Yeah. What really surprises me, I mean, 2 years really isn't that long to grow that size. That's crazy.
Well, I've got 20 years of experience in scaling another business.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot of things as an entrepreneur through that really set me up to scale faster here. And I honestly believe, knowing what I know now, I could have done it in probably half the time, which is the other reason why I'm really excited about these classes.
Yeah.
Because I think Turo is the future of car rentals.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have you done any private rentals at all?
We did private rentals for a while when Turo had an open API on their website, and we can kind of not have scheduling conflicts, right? If somebody rented from me privately, it would block it off on Turo and vice versa.
Yeah.
They've since closed that. And so we haven't focused on it. I will say, though, if you're doing private rentals right now or thinking about it, don't let this deter you, because I know a lot of people who are doing private rentals that are doing great. We just decided to focus our business on one aspect and be the best at that.
Yeah.
So I'm not discouraging people from doing private rentals. I know a lot of people who are doing really good with it.
Yeah, and no future plans probably to move into the space?
At the moment, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good. You're conquering one industry in one area.
Yeah.
And then you're going to kind of grow it as big as you
Because to
can.
do it, you got to, I mean, just as an example, when we were doing private rentals, it upped our insurance cost about $8,000 a month.
That's crazy.
So just off the bat, you've got to justify that somehow. And I couldn't.
Yeah.
Not to say, if I had some salespeople in here and we started creating relationships and we had a way to capture those customers, then I probably could. But that's not my focus right now.
Yeah. What would you say, as kind of we close out here, is your maybe a couple little nuggets of biggest pieces of advice for people starting out or maybe have a smaller fleet?
Yeah. I would say take the time to really recognize your customers. Right? For example, every customer that rents a car from us, we handwrite a card to them.
That's crazy.
Not a sentence,
Yeah.
not a happy face. We handwrite a paragraph. and we put in there all of our contact information. We have a QR code for them to leave reviews for us. Any way to get a hold of us. Really focus on your customers because people talk.
Yeah.
Right? They're your biggest form of free advertising. And they're going to talk one way or the other. Right? They're either going to go like have the experience I had that made me create this business because I loved it so much, or they're going to have the experience of, yeah, some shabby dude came up, the car wasn't really clean, he was late, and like you're creating an experience for people. And when you create a good quality experience, people go out of their way to come to our place.
Wow.
Because they just love the atmosphere here. They love the selection of cars. They know they're going to get taken care of. They know if there's a problem with the car, we immediately take them another one. And so really focus on being customer central and making sure that they have a great experience. It's hard because you may not see that customer for another 2 years, you know, or maybe that customer only talks to one person, but you're going to have an interaction with them anyways. One way or another, you're having an interaction with them.
Yeah.
So I know you're focused on getting the car cleaned and to them, but make sure it's a great experience. Make sure they're like, man, I'm going to remember that. Next time I'm in town, I'm going to America's Motors because that was a great experience.
Yeah, your customer base is your business. So how can people find you?
I'm biggest on platforms personally on social media. It's just at Brandon Bartron, Bartron. Our social media for the company is at You Can Rent Me, and our website is youcanrentme.com. We are probably 30 days away from completing our training course for Turo.
Okay.
But you can sign up right now for the list of people we contact once it's ready. It's just youcanrentme.com/learn.
Okay. And then so they'll sign up 30 days, it'll be live?
Yeah, so 30 days from today is August 3rd, so probably by the end of August it's going to be up and running. Wow. And if you're signed up on that list, we'll reach out to you and let you know so that we can start getting connected and learning to grow. We're even going to open it up to where people can come here for a day and I'll spend a day with them.
Wow.
Really dialing in their business for wherever they're at, whether they have no cars yet or they have 50 or 100, and we'll focus on certain metrics to help you grow your business.
Wow, I love that. That's definitely unique in what you're doing. Well, I appreciate you being a part of this podcast.
Yeah, pleasure.
And I'm excited to see you grow.
Yeah, you ready to go check out all the
cars?
cars?
Let's go see the cars.
Let's go check them out.
You hand drew those or?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
A guy that I know in Scottsdale did. He signed the bottom of them.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. I saw him at an event.
Jason Balls. Yeah, he actually does go to the Barrett Jackson event.
Yeah. That is
super
crazy.
Talented. They looked real, like something.
I thought they were just pictures.
Yeah.
Oh my
Those are hand
gosh, they look so real. What was your favorite between these five?
Top left.
Really, Aventador?
Yeah. That wasn't any Aventador. That was a Mira tribute Aventador. So this was the 50-year anniversary of the Mira, which was the first rear-engine V12.
Wow.
Lamborghini design. And so to tribute or to pay tribute to the 50-year anniversary, they made 50 in the same color schemes that they did back then. It's the two-tone. See how there's the silver on the bottom?
Yeah.
Of the 50, they made one in green.
Wow.
One.
So you had one. Did you buy it new or did you buy it used?
I bought it used. It had like 800 miles on it.
What?
It was during COVID. So a dealer was freaking out because he had to offload a bunch of inventory, and so I got it for nothing. And I'm like, this is either going to be the smartest decision I ever made or the dumbest. And I made a fortune when I sold it.
Oh my gosh! You didn't rent it, did you?
No.
Okay.
No. Although an Aventador would be a good rental, I think.
You think so?
Not at the current prices, which is why we haven't got one. But
yeah. What do they run for right now on average?
I mean, you're at least 3 to get into one.
Holy crap!
So, and that's a older one with miles.
Yeah.
When I bought that for 300 back during COVID with 800 miles.
Oh my God! I mean, that's like brand new.
There's one more for sale right now for 700.
Do you get close
that's
to that?
Red with like 5,000 miles.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's sweet. Is this the best way through?
Yeah.
The vroom vroom vroom. You got the sign put up. I like that. Oh my gosh. Got the Lamborghinis right away.
Yeah, sorry it's hot back here. We've got 2 swamp coolers that are getting fixed right now.
So shoot, right at the perfect time.
Yeah.
So walk me through your space, like how it works.
Yeah, so we've got a total of 18,000 square feet I would say about 3,000 of it is, maybe 2,000 of it is office space.
Okay.
And the rest is just a big open floor plan. So we've kind of set it up in different stages. We've got a mechanics
That's
shop
sweet.
over there
That
with
is
2
sweet.
lifts. We've got a tire machine. We got everything.
Is that always going?
do.
Is your guy always working there?
I mean, we got one guy managing a fleet of 150 cars. We've got a Tesla charging station right next to it, so we can
nice.
charge 2 Teslas and then just another charger. And then we've got a station over here. You'll notice on all of our listings we have an American flag in the background. So it's like our trademark, right? So people see that, they know, okay, it's America's Motors car. So we take all of our pictures over here. And then we've got a detail station over here where Miguel does all of his, engine bay cleaning. When we get a new car and we got to get it ready for listing, he'll set it up in there. It opens to the outside too, so we can wash it.
No kidding.
And then bring it in.
That's cool.
And then the flow that we have is when cars come in, they come through here and then they get in line to get touch-ups done.
Okay.
So it's all lighted up with bright lights so we can see the car really well. There's air lines running through there. There's vacuum lines running through there.
Wow.
They can fill tires, check fluid levels.
You're set up
so
to
that
do
when,
everything here.
Well, we do outsource getting the car washed.
Okay.
So we have a cobblestone wash station down the street that we've partnered with that are great. So we have wash passes. We get them washed, get them full of gas, bring them here, and then do all the minor details.
And how do you have like a thing you scan there?
So we've got a special deal with them. We got cards, so we just scan our card when we go there, and then we pay for the number of cars we have in our fleet every single month.
Okay, I see. So I saw in your office you had 6 Rolls-Royce, the umbrellas.
Yeah.
You take them out from the Rolls-Royces?
We take them out because they're like, I think they're like $500 a piece.
Holy
so
crap.
They would just disappear if we didn't.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, I've got them all in my office.
Do you use them?
No.
No, have they ever been undone?
Especially here in Arizona. When's the last time it's rained?
It never rains here.
Yeah.
You have such cool cars. So this is the moneymaker right here.
So this is the
that
best exotic that we've got.
Yeah.
I mean, it's convertible. That helps, right? People love to put the top down. It's a really vibrant color.
It is.
Which is a good thing to look at when you're getting a sports car, vibrant colors. For example, we've got 10, I think, C7 Corvettes.
Wow.
And the ones that do the best are the yellow ones.
Really?
If they're all priced the same, the yellow ones will go first.
No kidding.
Because they pop in the picture.
Yeah.
So that's just one little
People
tip
notice
there for
it
somebody.
sooner.
Now, if people are looking for economy cars, it's not that much of a big deal.
Yeah.
But when we're looking for sports cars, people like to see the colors pop.
Yeah, yeah.
So that does good because of that. And for a long time, it was the only Huracan.
Wow.
That you could, the only Lambo you could get on Turo. Since then, there's some more people on that.
So how many Huracans do you have? Are these the two?
We just got these 2. We just got this one probably a month ago.
Wow.
It's a coupe version. Really nice inside. It's got black leather with blue stitching.
That's pretty.
Pretty cool,
Yeah. So how did you just knew that one did well and you wanted to get another one?
Yeah. Yeah. The market can justify it. So,
yeah, absolutely. And then that's your favorite car, right?
So this, I get people harp on me all the time for this, and Brandon knows too because he's driven it the last couple of days. That Z06 Corvette is my favorite car to drive in here.
That's crazy.
Of all these cars, which is pretty gnarly.
Yeah, but I've driven one with the 650 horse. It is crazy.
Insane fast.
Is it like the Hennessy package?
No, it's just a Z06 3LZ convertible. It's 2019, which is the last year of the C7s.
Yeah.
And I just love that car.
Yeah.
It's our oldest car too in our fleet because it was my personal car when we started with Turo.
Yeah.
And I just decided, well, let's throw this on there. So it's got over 200 trips on it.
Wow, that's your oldest car on the fleet. Wow.
And it's still running strong. It's a champ.
Wow.
Great car.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
And then I saw you have the cigar lounge too.
Yeah.
Is that guests go in there too?
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
And we got this nice big humidor that can fit 7,000 cigars that has probably 8 cigars in it. But yeah, it was intended to be a cool little space to kind of hang out and smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
We have a really nice lounge, which I'm sure you guys will see in this video, where customers can come and hang out.
Yeah.
And it's nice. They've got beverages that we give them for free.
Wow.
We've got nice TVs, a pool table, a popcorn machine. I mean, it's just a really cool customer experience for people that come in.
Yeah. I think a lot of the stuff that you're doing is really, really unique. I mean, like a lot of the stuff that we've talked about already, I just don't know anybody that's doing that.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. And I'm really excited. I know you're gonna, talking about another space soon. So can't even imagine what it's going to
Yeah,
look like.
we're working on getting a piece of property right off of the freeway by the airport.
Oh.
And what's exciting about it is it's just a lot.
Yeah.
So we're going to be able to design a building specifically for our process.
Oh my gosh, that's
So
perfect.
it will be really cool. I'm excited about it too. It'll be the end of next year.
Okay, and it's going to have something, I'm sure, customer
yeah.
experience in the
Oh,
inside?
Yeah, an
Wow.
even better customer experience.
So how many cars, do you have an idea of how many cars you're going to be able to fit there?
That car will fit on site 500.
500?
So we could realistically get about 1,000 cars because half of them will probably be gone at any given time.
Yeah.
So it's got a massive ability for us to upgrade our number of cars.
That's crazy. Yeah. So if you have it at the end of next year, how long do you think it'll take to get to, if you get to 1,000, if you want to get to 1,000 cars, how long would it take?
Very shortly thereafter.
Really?
The other neat thing about this property is we're going to have our own on-site gas station.
Wow.
And our own on-site wash facility.
That you...
So everything, we will literally be like the traditional rent-a-car is set up, where we wash everything on site, gas everything up on site, and don't have to leave for anything. We have a mechanic shop, everything, one stop for everything.
That's crazy. So I had a question. I was thinking about this. How many people work for you?
We have a current roll of 7 teammates.
7?
7 of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many people run the cars?
Anywhere from 2 to 4, depending on how busy we are.
Okay. And I'm sure some people move from there, like what they're doing, and come help out move cars sometimes?
Yeah, so some people have different hats.
Yeah.
At 1,000 cars, you can have everybody with one specific role.
Yeah.
But right now we have some people that move around, except our mechanic. He obviously just fixes cars all day because he's really busy. But everybody else, we kind of help out where it's needed.
Yeah. And do you any deliveries right now? Like, do you ever help out?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We deliver within 50 miles of this location.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm sure a lot of airport.
Most of our deliveries go to Sky Harbor.
Most?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like 95% of them.
That's crazy.
Go to Sky Harbor.
That's crazy.
The most popular place that people are getting cars out of.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, this is super cool. I'm really excited to see your next place.
Yeah.
You have to invite me out.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
We'll do a really fun video when we have a grand opening for that.
Oh, yeah.
It'll probably be January of not next year, but the following.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be so nice.
A lot of work's going to have to go into getting that place done.
Yeah. Are you already in pre-planning phase?
Yeah, we've already somewhat tied up the lot so that
Wow.
we can start permitting and building. It's going to be a long process, so we're starting now.
Okay. And are you going to have this too, or just that?
Just that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
That's super
that.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I appreciate you meeting with me, Brandon.
Nice meeting with you.
Yeah, it's
Love
nice
it.
to meet you.
We'll have to grab a cool car now and test it out.
I know.